Hello everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I'm gonna go through my big three, Palantir, Tesla, and Nvidia, sharing you my thoughts. A lot of thoughts really haven't changed, it's just more or less an update. If you look at the monthly chart of Palantir, it is doing something that it is expected to do, which is basically price is forming higher highs and higher lows because it's a bull trend. And whenever it hits a very important resistance level, which is the golden ratio over here at 0.618, around 30 bucks, it got rejected. So right now what happened? Well, I'm going to pull up a little bit more of a weekly chart here and give you a better picture here. It got rejected from close to the 0.618 up here. Pretty much goes around like 30 bucks. I guess if you got fair and rent, if you were selling at the actual golden ratio level here, you might end up, not being able to sell, and next thing you know, it just kind of came back down here. Where did it find support at? The 0.5 Fibonacci level, around 25.46. Right now it's just range bound, and it has found a new range. Initially the range was between 2021 to around 25 or so. Right now the range is between 25 to 30. So this is a bullish indication in terms of what price is trying to do. There are a couple of things that is very important to think about. One is there are plenty of support underneath on the weekly chart. You put up the Ichimoku cloud, you can see that there are these different lines over here with the Tenkan, that blue line, that's a support. You have the Kijun, which is a support over down here too, around $23, so it needed. I don't think it's going to go back down that low. You also have the bull market support band that's also right underneath right here, around 24 bucks. The Tenkan right now is around 25.24. And you also have a very important 0.5 Fibonacci level over here. All of this are certain support zones, so even if it breaks down, I think it's going to gravitate down to one of these support levels, probably going to be bouncing pretty hard. And right now, we haven't even touched any of these support levels down below. We just touched the 0.5 and already bounced very, very hard. So that really makes me think that there's a lot of demand, and the demand has just been steadily rising. And I think a lot of people really want to get into the stock and just having a hard time doing it. But traders, when they see these important levels, they just want to sell. They don't care, no questions asked. When things get a little bit too overextended, can you really blame them? Just looking at Bollinger Band. When things got overextended for about 3 weeks in a row, then close above the upper Bollinger Band 3 weeks in a row, can you blame traders for saying, hey, hitting an important Fibonacci level here, trends starting to get a little bit exhausted, let's just go ahead and sell. And that's exactly what had happened. Like the trend just looked a little bit more like rolling over, and you're hitting a little bit of a bearish divergence where price gone up, but the RSI didn't really quite make a higher high, and it just simply got rejected right around where you expect it to, right around where it got way too overextended, and it kind of found support right where it's supposed to find support at, right? So if you look over here, what's going to happen? Well, it's range bound, so the range is going to be between 25.5 to about 30. That's going to be the new range. Is it going to form a little bit of a nice flag over here before going up? Certainly a possibility. Looking at the monthly chart though, I see a little bit of a different picture here. First of all, the rising 3 is playing out. Big giant green candle, 3 bearish candle didn't go anywhere. And you have 2 really, relatively bullish candle that happened bam, bam, right? And you got to like 30 bucks. The thing about it is that we really haven't had much volume for the month of June and July. I'd like to see the volume kind of pick up a little bit more, and we don't really quite have the catalyst to come in yet for Palantir to really shoot up to the moon, or really to crash down to from the sky. I guess we have to wait for earnings to really have a little bit more volume coming in to really try and figure out more impulsive direction coming up. I do think that price wants to gravitate towards 30 bucks. The reason why is because I think the upper Bollinger Band is expanding. Is probably going to get up hitting around 30 for the month of August, and it really does look like it wants to gravitate up towards that level, because the Bollinger Band is expanding, and also because that's also the top of the range that it tried to break above once. So I think over the next month or two, it's probably going to gravitating up here. We're really going to try and challenge the $30 level here. Beyond that, I don't think the 0.766 is that important. If we have really good earnings, I think it could potentially go past that, and you might even challenge like 45 here over the next few months. We have like a couple of really good earnings, which is kind of crazy to think about. But this is a really impulsive bull trend, But right now we're still underneath some pretty important resistance. Not only has it just got rejected here at the 0.618, it also got rejected up here at the upper Bollinger Band. It's just simply a little bit too far, too fast, and it's just want to cool down. So far it's a really nice steady bull trend right now. It's a little bit overextended when you're looking at the Ichimoku cloud, when you're comparing it to where the Tenkan is located. It's like around 22 bucks in price, around 27, a little bit overextended, but not too much. Like, this candle over here was a little bit too far extended from the Tenkan, from the blue line, and that's why we get punished for about 3 or 4 months, just going sideways. But right now it's rising. The Tenkan is rising, and I think the next month it's going to keep rising a little bit here. So as it keeps rising, we're not going to be as overextended anymore. And I really do think that price wants to gravitate towards 30 bucks, maybe over in August to September. We're probably going to look into maybe potentially breaking that level, is kind of what I'm seeing here. If you look at the the weekly Ichimoku cloud, I already told you, like, that was the Fibonacci level right around 25.5, and also got really close to the weekly Tenkan. This is bull market behavior. It's just been forming higher lows and higher highs, and is back testing the Tenkan a little bit here, which is what you would totally expect from a bull trend. In the bull trend, you just ride the Tenkan up. On the bear trend, you ride the Tenkan down as resistance. On the bull trend, you just ride the Tenkan up. So this is a pretty healthy behavior here. Again, with the Bollinger Band, initially it was expanding, but right now we just had to cool down. The swing thing just kind of went a little bit way too fast. But 30 is probably going to be what I'm thinking that's going to come up next. That's Palantir in a nutshell. On the daily chart, I really don't have much to say. I mean, it's just kind of hit the top range, got close to the bottom range, and bounced. Right now, it just looks like it's trying to revert back to the mean, and we're going to try to pick a direction after that. I still think 30 is probably going to be where it's going to go next, though. Palantir, I'm still bullish. If you're wondering about the wave trend oscillator, if you're wondering about the whale-ish momentum, the whales are still here in the monthly. They've just been slowly going up. On the weekly, they're still there. There's really not much retails left in here. If you look at the wave trend oscillator, we are looking a little bit rolling over here on the weekly here, but I'm not going to let that scare me, because sometimes you can have a little bit of a rollover look. The next thing you know, it doesn't roll over. It just keeps going up. You might have a little bit of rolling over look. The next thing you know, it just doesn't roll over. It just keeps going up, right? So I'm not going to let that scare me here on the weekly. On the monthly, it still looks like it's nicely expanding. So it's still a bull trend until proven otherwise. That is Palantir. The next stock I want to talk about, which is going to be a hot stock a lot of people are interested in, is Tesla. What is Tesla doing? As far as I'm concerned, Tesla is doing what it's supposed to. It's supposed to flip a bear trend and try to flip it into a bull trend. First thing that it has to do is going to try to reclaim the 20-month moving average, and making sure that you're able to flip the 20-month moving average from downtrending to at least flat and maybe even uptrending, to show that you have a trend change over here. Just like last time when it tried to flip this downtrend, try to flatten it and push it into an uptrend. I think that's exactly what we're doing. We have a very nice candle over here to push back above the 20-month moving average. And we also have this nice candle that had allowed the price to really flatten the 20-month moving average. Initially we had a little bit of reclaiming of the 20-month moving average, but we just didn't have enough momentum to try to turn the 20-month moving average flat. And because we didn't have the momentum, it ended up breaking down, and we ended up going really close to the low Bollinger Band. And as we touched really close to the low Bollinger Band, it was just way too far down extended. And we end up having a very nice bounce back to the very top, close to the very top of the Bollinger Band here. During this whole process, though, as it goes sideways for more than 20 months, it's really starting to flatten out here. And as a matter of fact, it actually has flipped a little bit up, because over here it was 206, over here is 207. So it's actually pointing up a little bit. So this might signify a trend change. This hasn't happened really since like July of 2022 or August 2022. The 20-month moving average hasn't curled up, hasn't been pointing up positively really since like August 2022. So this is pretty important, significant development here. Another thing that has also done is to flip the Bovine support band back from resistance into support. And this move over here, flip it from resistance to support, is looking very, very nice, So these are some of the very important things that Tesla needed to do to really try to change from a bear trend to a bull trend. And the question is, does it have to come all the way down to 200 to touch the bear support band? We'll talk a little bit about that. I don't think it necessarily has to be the case, and I do think that 200, shall it need to go there, would probably be as low as it goes. I think that there's a good chance that we just end up finding support here around 220 and just keep going up. What I meant is not going to be like shoot up like that. What I meant is probably going to range sideways here for a little bit, for at least another few weeks before going up, is my primary case. My secondary case, if it breaks down to 200, I think that would probably be, sealing the bottom here for Tesla. I'm going to show you why that is. One reason is because you have, Bull support band over here. But let me show some of the other stuff that is very important too. I always show the Ichimoku cloud. The Ichimoku cloud on the monthly, it is very important that the Ichimoku cloud in the monthly is trying to at least get back inside the Ichimoku cloud. Now you still have another few days of trading day in July. So, next thing you know, maybe it does end up falling down through the cloud and maybe hit like the 200 range, and we end up getting rejected from the cloud. And if that's the case, yeah, that could be potentially a pretty bearish candle. But what I'm trying to say is, even right now, you might see, oh, there's a big rejection right there, that's bearish. Not necessarily. At the beginning of the bull market is made by these, inverted hammers, like over here, like over here, like over here. I'm not really scared about these inverted hammers if it is trying to do a trend change. That doesn't really scare me at all. I would also like to see maybe when price go sideways for another month or two, maybe like inside the cloud. I really like to see the Tenkan flip back above the Kijun, because when that happens, you would have a bullish cross, and that hasn't really happened for a long time. We had a bearish cross over here in November 2022, but we really haven't had a bullish cross quite just yet. What happened last time we had a bullish cross? You had a bullish cross right around here in December 2019. Something pretty amazing happened after that, So we'll see. I would like to see us closing inside the monthly Ichimoku cloud, which would be inside 313. That would be a very nice spot for Tesla to be closing at. And if you also look at the 2-week Ichimoku cloud, you can see exactly what Tesla has been doing. This is actually quite an incredible chart for Tesla, because you can really see that over here it's just gotten way too far extended, came back down, back test the cloud, wasn't able to break back above. You have a bearish cross over here on the 2-week, got rejected here at the Kijun. It just broke underneath into the cloud, back test once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, and unable to break back inside the cloud, right? Right now, we have a little bit of a character change because we have been breaking back inside the 2-week Ichimoku cloud. And so far, we are closing inside the 2-week Ichimoku cloud. Right now, it looks like we might have a chance, because we suddenly got rejected at the top part of the Ichimoku cloud, and we're finding support here at the bottom. The bottom part of the cloud over here is, let me see, yeah, it's around 217. So which is probably a big part of the reason why I think like 217 to 225, I think would be like a pretty good support zone. And I think that's kind of where exactly it's bouncing from, which is actually a good sign. This candle's already closed, so I can imagine maybe over the next few weeks, maybe it end up getting stuck inside the 2-week Ichimoku cloud before breaking out. And I would like to see the Tenkan here crossing back above the Kijun, have a bullish cross over here. But so far looking pretty decent, right? On the weekly chart, you can see that this week has closed right on top of the Tenkan. The Tenkan is around 219.21, and we closed right above of that. So around 225 to 225 is going to be around the Ichimoku cloud over here. It's a thin cloud, so it wasn't going to be like strong resistance or support. But yeah, I would say around like 225 to 220s. I thought it was going to be a pretty decent range over here to find support, and that's why, like, if things go sideways and maybe even break down a little bit to 200, that's always a possibility. But I can see the case that we're just kind of going sideways, and that's kind of my primary case, where Tesla just kind of goes sideways here and range around here before going up again. 200 is probably going to be your next risk level though. Over here is like 204 at the Kijun here on the weekly. On the 2-week Ichimoku cloud, you have some of the levels down here around 205, 209. These are some of the support levels down here with the Kijun and Tenkan, right? On the monthly, you also have around 208 and as well as around 204, which is the monthly Tenkan and Kijun. So shall price go down, I think you'll find some pretty good support here around 200 to 205 range, somewhere down underneath below. Does it have to do that? No. And I would love for it to do that actually, because if that's the case, if the market gives me the opportunity to buy lower, I will take it. Because again, on the bigger picture, I'm seeing some trend changes here that seem to be more sustainable. I'm seeing that it tries to close back inside the Ichimoku cloud, which is a very positive indicator. I'm seeing that the 2-week Ichimoku cloud is starting to serve as a little bit of a support, as friction, so maybe it won't go down that much further. And that's Tesla. Overall, if you ask me what Tesla is going to do, I'm actually pretty bullish on Tesla overall, even though the you still don't have the moving averages on the weekly stack in the right way quite just yet, but sometimes things can kind of change in a hurry. Sometimes it only takes a few candles for it to really do what it needs to do. But on the, sorry, actually that was a 2-week chart. On the weekly chart, actually, I'm seeing some positive signs here. I'm seeing that the 50 is starting to get back over to 100. Usually when you have this look over here, it just reminds me of this look over here. Do I think that is necessarily going to come back down to some of the lower levels? For example, like the Bloomberg support band, do I think it's necessarily coming back down? No, because it didn't over here. It could potentially just kind of go sideways here for a few weeks before breaking out. It can potentially go sideways here for a few weeks before breaking out. So there are a lot of things I'm just like not sure. Now the question is this: are we going to go back down to 200 on a lower time frame? I am a little bit concerned that it might. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a little bit concerned that it might. The reason why is generally whenever price hit the upper Bollinger Band and it breaks underneath the median over here, which is a 20-day moving average, generally the low Bollinger Band might end up being where price end up gravitating towards. And where is that at right now? It's around 205. Does it have to hit 205? Not necessarily, because what happened during last time back in around December 2020, December 2020, we have a very, very similar look where it just kind of gravitated to the upper Bollinger Band, broke down underneath, had a gap down, but we didn't really quite touch the lower Bollinger Band. I don't think that these things have to happen. I just think that it would be logical if it ends up happening. But before it breaks down to like 205, I still think that we have enough higher time frame support that it may not end up being where it would go. I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I would be delusional to tell you that, there's no way that price could go back down to 205 or 200. I think it's possible. I just don't think it to be the most likely scenario. Because before we go back down further, we still have plenty of supports. Before going down there. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm still, bullish overall on this chart because I do think that this is a very, very nice reversal. You've been on the weekly time frame more or less. You have like higher lows and higher highs. We're just trying to find a higher low. How low does it get? I don't know, but I think that right here is a pretty decent risk-reward ratio. So we'll see. And on the higher time frame, I still, I'm pretty bullish on Tesla. Now, Nvidia, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to keep it very, very simple. I think that Nvidia is getting close to some of the critical supports down below on the weekly chart here, around 105, around 100. And I think that it wasn't necessarily going to go back down that low. I think that overall this is still very much of a bull trend. And I can even show you the Bollinger Band. It's still, everything is still on the upper part of the Bollinger Band. Everything is still looking, peachy here for Nvidia. On the weekly chart, now on the monthly chart, I do want to show you where, and I've shown you this before. I'm basically just reiterating what I've told you before. This is the monthly Bollinger Band. Whenever you have this big giant bull trend here that expands the lower Bollinger Band down, way down, you want to find out when that trend is exhausting. Now, first of all, I'm saying a trend is exhausting, meaning that you have a bull trend that could still keep going. It could go up to 300-400, but you usually have some early signs that the trend is exhausting. And I'm starting to see some signs of the Nvidia chart exhausting. I think it's probably going to end up going sideways for a couple more months before going up further. And my rationale is this. I'm going to pull back up here on the previous 2 cycles over here and look at the Bollinger Band. Over here, this cycle has gotten so parabolic that you have the upper Bollinger Band continue to expand, you have the lower Bollinger Band continue to expand, right? When did the lower Bollinger Band stop expanding? The lower Bollinger Band stopped expanding right here at that spot right here in January 2017. Where is price at around January 2017? Around January 2017 is this candle right here. What did price do? Well, it went sideways here for months number 1 and 2, right? What happened after that? It's been range bound over here for about 4 months. And during this period is when the lower Bollinger Band had stopped expanding. And that's when you really start having a little bit of a trend exhaustion. Is when the lower Bollinger Band stops expanding. It starts contracting. That's when you know that the trend is probably starting to get exhausted. Now, again, when the trend is exhausting, you can still have price just keep going from like $2.50 all the way up to like $7, right? You can still like 2 or 3x from there. But this is a sign for trend exhaustion, and for NVIDIA, every single stock had kind of their own personality. For NVIDIA, when it starts to have a little bit of trend exhaustion, it goes sideways for months. Right. Here's an example. Here's another example. You didn't really quite have the Bollinger Band expanding all the way down to the bottom, right? The Bollinger Band expansion stops right here, around September of 2020. What did price do after the Bollinger Band stops expanding? It went sideways for months number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 months in a row, right? And during this sideways, you really can see that the trend is exhausting, right? The Bollinger Band is starting to contract. You still have another push up higher. You know, price still went from like 13 bucks all the way to like 35, right? So you can still potentially have another 2 or 3x after that. Right now, we are at a point where the Bollinger Band is still expanding on the upper end, but on the lower Bollinger Band, we have stopped expanding. Now, sometimes all it takes is just another candle or two of like really bullishness to just keep on expanding it down, which I find that probably going to be a little bit more difficult to do because I do think that we're a little bit overextended. But we're at the juncture where I think this month is going to be the month where we might start to see a little bit of trend exhaustion. Now, price can still continue to go to do another like 2 to 3x. It can hit like, you know, the high 300s, 400. That's a possibility on trend exhaustion. But I can totally see price going sideways here for another couple months before making that final move over the next like 12 to 18 months. Because if you see over here, right, trend exhaustion, September 2020, where's the top? November 2021, right? So around like 14 months or so. January 2017 over here is when the trend started to exhaust. Where's the top? Around September 2018, you know. So you're talking about another like 18, 19, 20 months of bull trend. So right now we could potentially still have another 12 to 18 months of going up, and it could potentially make like a 2.5, 3x from here. But I'm starting to see some signs of trend exhaustion. And trend exhaustion doesn't necessarily mean that like the entire market is going to go down, but I just think that maybe money will start to kind of rotate away from NVIDIA, maybe to other stocks. But NVIDIA still has a way to go. This market cap just simply got a little bit too big. It simply just got a little bit of a trend exhaustion after the big move from like a 10x from the bottom over here, you know. So I'm still bullish on NVIDIA, but I'm just starting to, you know, think that, hey, maybe we got another like 12 to 18 months. The important thing too is that you can see that around January 2017, remember when I was talking about the Bollinger Band started to get exhausted? That's also where the RSI had peaked over here. And after that, price just kind of gone up a bearish divergence for like 18, 19, 20 months, right? So just because things have exhausted, you have a bearish divergence, doesn't necessarily mean that it's topped. You can keep going for another year or two and it can make a pretty nice move up, right? Over here, we have the Bollinger Band, you know, contraction over here around September 2020. I do think that this is probably the top. Price keeps on going up, but the RSI really didn't really make that much of a higher high after that. So I think that you have a trend exhaustion that had begun around September 2020. And right now, I do think that we have the trend exhaustion in June 2024, which means that price might end up going sideways here for another couple of months and then push up to make the final 12 to 18 months of the bull trend. And I would like to, you know, get a little bit more concerned whenever a Bollinger Band really starts to come back from Earth. That's when I really would start getting, you know, a little bit more concerned. Yeah, I mean it can trade sideways. As far as I'm concerned, it can go down to like $100. It doesn't really matter to me. It's just going to be range bound here probably for another couple of months. The same thing now that I'm talking about the Bollinger Band expansion, the same thing happened with Tesla. Tesla has had two of these Bollinger Band expansions before on the monthly, and I do want to say this one thing over here. This one thing is this. Let's see, the Bollinger Band expansion stops happening around October 2013 here, right? Where was price at around October 2013? Somewhere around here. You know, you did end up having another leg up, but I think that trend is really starting to get exhausted right around here. And when it got exhausted, it just kind of went sideways here for like 4 or 5 years, you know, or yeah, 5 years straight. So you know, you don't have to sell right when the Bollinger Band, you know, stops expanding here, because if you're trying to sell here around 10, you know, 10 or $11, and price kept on making another, you know, like to like 16 and a half here, and it kept on making close to like $20 over here, right? So you still potentially be missing a lot of gains. I don't think you really should start to get too worried until the Bollinger Band comes back from Earth, right? When you start to see a Bollinger Band like contracting, like, okay, the trend is probably getting exhausted. Same thing over here, right? You have a big giant move up, you have the Bollinger Band expanding all the way down, right? When did the Bollinger Band start to contract? Around January 2021. Where's price at around January 2021? January 2021 price is right here, around 270 or so. If you exit here, you would have, I guess, saved yourself some opportunity costs, because price just kind of went sideways for about 3 to 4 years after that. You could potentially miss the move from like 250, 270 all the way up to like 400. You know, you could have waited for the Bollinger Band to kind of come back from Earth and sell it right there. You know, I suppose you can do that, you know, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're already ridden the way up like this, where you should start getting caution is when the Bollinger Band starts to contract, right? And the second area where you should really start to get concerned is when Bollinger Band starts coming back from Earth, right? Right now, we're nowhere near that Bollinger Band expansion. Like, that hasn't happened. I don't know whether or not it's going to happen. There's always a potential where price just goes sideways for another 2 years, right? I don't think that's going to be the case. I have my reasons to believe that. I think the Bollinger Band is going to end up expanding and price is going to end up going a lot higher. But who knows? Like, nobody can guarantee you that. But I promise to myself, if we are going to end up having some of these crazy Bollinger Band expansion that's happening over here, I'm going to keep riding the trend. I might even keep buying. I'm going to keep riding the trend until I start seeing the Bollinger Band starts to contract, until I start to see that the Bollinger Band has come back to Earth. That's when I would get really cautious. And that's kind of what I'm thinking about all of these three stocks. I mean, like right now, I still think that Nvidia is probably going to keep going up, but I do see some sign that I'm saying, hey, you know, maybe another 12 to 18 months. That's kind of what I'm seeing. And all these are speculation. Like Palantir, the monthly chart for Palantir, like, it hasn't even started expanding yet. I don't think we really truly had that like explosive move up yet, because we just simply been methodologically going up over time. So we'll see. But those are just kind of my thoughts on Palantir, on Tesla, and on Nvidia. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good one. Have a good weekend. Bye.